Good morning. I'm Greg Howes. This is Morning Pulse. Welcome. Good to have you on with me this morning. Hope you're well rested and ready to go for the day. Excuse me. Welcome to you from wherever you may be watching. Welcome to our friends in Tipton, Iowa. Welcome to Cornerstone. Cornerstone people, we are reading the Bible and we are finishing up with Ephesians, the book of Ephesians, written to the people of Ephesus. Ephesians, so stay after your Bible reading, and tomorrow we'll be going into a new book, which I'm thinking probably will be 1 Corinthians starting tomorrow. So we'll stay up with that. Bible reading, very, very important. So let's keep it up. Keep it up. We want to be biblically literate. One of the things that's going to help us with that is memorization. And so a couple of weeks ago, we started doing memory verses. And so for this week, our memory verse is Ephesians chapter 1 and verse 3. Ephesians 1 and verse 3. And so those of you at Cornerstone, we will bring it together this coming Sunday, February 23rd, as we recite Ephesians 1-3 together. All right. Also, this coming Sunday is Sunday at the Table, our first one of 2025. It's going to be good. Hope that you will be available and ready for good things this Sunday, February 23rd. February 23rd. It's going to be a good day. All right, let's jump into what we have for today. Building. Seems like I can't get off of this subject. Building. Everything's about building. This past Sunday when I was in Tipton, Iowa, we did some teaching on this. And so you Tipton people that may be on with us this morning, you're going to recognize some of this. Cornerstone people, you may be hearing this in one form or another coming up soon. We will see. But anyway, here we are right now talking about building from Matthew chapter 16. Simon Peter gives his great confession, "You are the Christ, the Son of the living God." Jesus says, "Flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. On this rock I will build my church, my ecclesia, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. And I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. And whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven. And whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven." So notice the power of revelation. You didn't get this out of a book. You didn't get it from people. Flesh and blood did not reveal this. My Father revealed this. God the Father in heaven gave Peter revelation. You are the Christ, the Son of the living God. On this rock, on that confession, I will. Jesus says he'll do two things. I will build my church and I will give you the keys. Those two things. When he says church, he's using the word ecclesia, Greek word ecclesia, which is a governmental term. It's not a religious term. It's not a spiritual term, so to speak. Ecclesia is referring to a group of people that are called out and gathered together and given authority, given power to make decisions, to make determinations, to measure things, to evaluate things, to decree things, and to execute plans and purposes. Ecclesia. So it's not about a church building. It's not even about a church service, what we would typically think of as a worship service. This is about a governmental people that are being formed to represent heaven on earth. That's what ecclesia is about. I will build my ecclesia and I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Speaking of authority to act, authority to execute, you have the keys. Now here's the two things we do. Whatever you bind, whatever you close, whatever you shut down, whatever you stop, it'll be done. And it'll be backed up in heaven. And whatever you loose, Whatever you open, whatever you allow, whatever you release, it will be loosed in heaven as well. So this is speaking of building, and it's speaking of authority to act in the earth. We're bringing heaven to earth. Let your will be done in the earth as it is in heaven. That seems to be just the foundation of everything that's happening with us. The will of God being done in earth as it is in heaven. Jesus instructed us to pray that way. All right. So, he builds his church. Jesus builds his ecclesia with a spiraling effect. Spiraling. It can have a negative connotation of spiraling down, getting worse, but it can also have a positive connotation of a continuous and dramatic increase as we move upward. And that's the way spiraling is being used here. That's the way I'm using it here. Again, this is not a biblical word. This is a word out of our culture, has connections to business life. Spiraling, showing a continuous and dramatic increase. Jesus is building his ecclesia. How does he do it? By spiraling upward. Number one, he gathers people to himself. He said to those early followers, come and see. Come and hang out with me. Number two, these people that he gathers are brought together to be a community, a family, sons, male sons, female sons. This is where we are discipled. We develop relationships, and there's teaching going on. There's educating going on. There's equipping going on. All of this happening in this community. And then number three, Jesus takes these people that have become a community, they've been equipped, and he sends them out to be his representatives, the ambassadors of his kingdom in the world. And then the whole spiraling process begins all over again. The gathering of people, community, equipping, and then sending out. And it happens over and over and over and over. And every time it happens, multiplication is taking place, showing a continuous and dramatic increase. Multiplication is happening. Jesus building his ecclesia. So, I want us to look at Matthew 16, starting at verse 1, and pull out some elements of building that we can see here in this chapter. At the end of Matthew 15, Jesus has fed 4,000 people. He puts his disciples on a boat, sends them across the Sea of Galilee. So we pick it up where it says the Pharisees and Sadducees came, testing him, and asked that he would show them a sign from heaven. And he answered and said to them, when it is evening, you say, it will be fair weather, for the sky is red. And in the morning, it will be foul weather today, for the sky is red and threatening. Hypocrites, you know how to discern the face of the sky, but you cannot discern the signs of the times. A wicked and adulterous generation seeks after a sign, and no sign shall be given to it except the sign of the prophet Jonah. And he left them and departed. Of course, the sign of the prophet Jonah is 3 days in the belly of the great fish, and then he comes out, which will be a sign of resurrection. Jesus 3 days in the tomb and then resurrected from the dead. Now, what is our building element here? What are we looking at? Number one, this is the first one. We build by looking beyond what our physical senses tell us to see what is happening in the spiritual realm. This is how we build. We walk by faith and not by sight. And just like these Pharisees and Sadducees had this ability to predict weather by looking at the sky, by looking at the weather conditions. So we do the same. We start hearing weather reports and we start talking about it. We declare it. We speak it as if it is so. Several days ago, the weatherman said it was going to be frigid these early days of this week. And so here we are. This morning in Chicago, we're below zero. We like to talk about that stuff. It's something we can see. It's something we hear. It's something we believe. The weatherman said, we believe the weatherman more than we believe God. The recent Super Bowl, we were making our predictions. Oh, Kansas City's going to win because of this, and this. Or Philadelphia is going to win because of this, and this. We make our predictions. We talk about what the president's going to do. We make predictions. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. Elon Musk, he's going to do this. He's going to do that. We talk about all these things, and they're all connected to our physical senses, our academic ability, our mental capacity to figure things out. We predict it, we declare it, we talk about it all of the time. We're really good at that. But none of that is going to help us build the kingdom. It's not going to help us build the ecclesia, the church. That will only happen when we have the ability to see into the spiritual realm. Can we see what's happening in the spirit? That's what Jesus is speaking to these religious leaders. You're really good at predicting and talking about and declaring what's right in your face in the natural realm, but you can't see in the spirit. And so if we're building the ecclesia with Jesus, we must take on this ability to see what is happening in the spirit. To see what's happening in the spirit. Now, there's room for seeing what's happening in the natural. We'll get to that in a second. But we want to be able to see in the spiritual realm. Verse 5, when his disciples had come to the other side, they had forgotten to take bread. Jesus said to them, take heed and beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. The leaven. So the disciples reasoned among themselves, saying, he's saying this stuff about leaven because we have taken no bread. But Jesus, being aware of it, said to them, O you of little faith, why do you reason among yourselves because you have brought no bread? Do you not yet understand or remember? Important statements. You don't understand and you don't remember the 5 loaves of the 5,000 and how many baskets you took up, nor the 7 loaves of the 4,000 and how many large baskets you took up. How is it you do not understand that I did not speak to you concerning bread, but to beware of the leaven of the Pharisees and Sadducees? Then they understood that he did not tell them to beware of the leaven of bread, but of the doctrine of the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Here's the element for building. We build by being aware of and resisting religious leaven, religious doctrine. We must be aware of that. And we must resist it. Because leaven has the capacity to take over whatever it is put into. Leaven is going to grow. It's going to spread. Its influence will spread. It will multiply rapidly. And so we must be aware of this religious leaven, this religious doctrine that's beyond the written scriptures. the doctrines of men, the traditions of men, things that people have made up over the years. And they do it to trouble those that are seeking God, and they do it to control and manipulate people. We build by being aware of and resisting religious leaven, religious doctrine, the belief systems of religion. Are we getting it? We also see in these verses, here's the third point, we build by understanding and remembering the workings of the supernatural power of God. Jesus speaks to his disciples about two miracles that he has just done, and they both involve bread. One of them is the feeding of the 5,000, and the other one is the feeding of the 4,000. And he does it by multiplying bread and fish, feeding 5,000 and feeding 4,000. And he challenges his disciples. You must understand what is happening here, and you must remember the power of God. Remember the miracles. Remember what God has done. Why is it that we have such a problem with this? We so easily forget. But in the kingdom, we build by understanding and remembering the workings of the supernatural power of God. Do we understand what God was doing when he did something mighty in our lives? Do we remember it? When we get to the next challenge, when we get to the next problem in life, and we need God to do something powerful for us, do we remember what he did a week ago or a month ago or a year ago? Do we remember what he has done for us? So we build by understanding and remembering the workings of the supernatural power of God. Then, verse 13, Jesus came into the region of Caesarea Philippi. He asked his disciples, saying, "Who do men say that I am? Who do they say that I, the Son of Man, am?" And so they said, some say you're John the Baptist, some Elijah, others Jeremiah, others say you're one of the prophets. People are saying all kinds of things about who you are. Well, here's point number 4 in building. We build by being relevant, knowing what is happening in the culture around us. That's one way we build. We must remain relevant. So this is what I was referring to when I said it is important that we can see what's happening in the natural, but it's even more important that we see what's happening in the spirit. But here's the natural side. We need to be relevant, and that means that we have to understand what is happening in the culture around us. So it's important to keep up with things. What is happening in the governmental transition right now between the former president that just left office and the new president that just came into office? What is this president doing? There are some huge changes that are taking place, and they're happening rapidly. And now the Supreme Court is going to be considering some of these changes. And does the president have the right to do some of the things he's doing? So these are things that are going on around us. What about the halftime show at the Super Bowl with Kendrick Lamar? There's been so much talk about that. So much has been written about it. Videos have been made about it. Have you been tracking it? Do you understand that it was more than just a halftime show? That a message was being declared. It was a well-planned, well-thought-out presentation of a ideology, a philosophy, a belief system of facts from history, things that have happened, things that are happening now, and things that could be happening in the future. All of that well-planned presentation was packed together in about a whatever it was, 12 to 14-minute program. There really was genius in the way it was created and communicated. But are we aware of that? Or do we just look at it as, well, I couldn't understand what he was saying. I'm not into rap. I didn't know what all the dancers were doing. I didn't know what the symbols were on the field. I have no idea. Well, maybe we need to study it a bit so we know, so we understand what is happening. We build by being relevant. Do you know what's happening in Ukraine? That the U.S. just sent a delegation to meet with Russian authorities to negotiate some type of peace treaty between Russia and Ukraine. Do we know that? Do we know what's happening with Hamas and the hostages and Israel? Do we know what's happening there? Do we know that certain things are going on the African continent that are extremely important? That even now South Africa is reacting to some of the moves that our president has made recently. And South Africa is now making moves that would hinder the United States economically. Are we aware of that? Are we aware of the weather patterns and all of the cold weather going on all over the country? We build by being relevant, knowing what is happening in the culture around us. We need to understand at least enough to have a conversation with somebody, to talk about some things. And these elements of conversation can lead us into sharing the gospel, sharing our faith with other people, giving a biblical perspective on what is happening. All right? Let's do one more. Jesus said to his disciples, "Who do you say that I am?" Simon Peter said, "You're the Christ, the Son of the living God." Jesus said, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah, for flesh and blood has not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven." Here is building element number 5. We build by the power of revelation. Revelation is the unveiling. It is the uncovering of what was hidden in God. When it's the right time and the right place, when everything is coming together in God's timing, he will bring revelation to us. He will unveil what has been veiled. He will uncover what has been covered. He will show us what has been hidden in him. This is what our God will do. And these secrets of God that are revealed to us will be for us, and it will be for our children and our children's children. Revelation knowledge. This is an element of building. We build by the power of revelation. Seeing into the spirit realm. Seeing what God is showing us. It's not that he's hiding things from us, but he's hiding things for us so that we will go after it, so that we will seek after him with all of our hearts. And as we seek after him, he will respond by showing us things, the things that we need to know and understand. All right, we'll stop there for today. We'll pick it up here again tomorrow. So join me tomorrow as we continue to talk about these building elements from Matthew chapter 16. Think about it. Meditate on it. Let it be a major consideration for you as we move through this day. God bless you. Thanks for being on with me here this morning. Thank you so much. Have a great day today. I declare everything you put your hands on today will prosper and it will be successful. Stay warm out there. It's cold. It's going to be a good day. God bless you. Be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. I'll talk to you soon.